Chag Sameach and good Yontif, everyone. I'm Cantor David Proser from Kehillat Bet HaMidrash, Kempsville Conservative Synagogue in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And today I'm discussing the Torah readings for the holiday of Shivuot, which occurs this year on Monday, May 17th and Tuesday, May 18th. Of the three pilgrimage festivals, Shavuot is the least understood and least celebrated by the majority of American Jews. Passover has the popularity of the Seder, and Sukkot has the symbolism of the Sukkah. But Shavuot, unfortunately, has become known as the holiday on which we eat blintzes. What makes this a sad tale is the fact that Shavuot commemorates the most important narrative in all of Judaism. With the escape from Egypt remembered and celebrated on Passover, we begin the Jewish saga of the birth of a nation, but the Exodus is actually only a prelude to something bigger. Judaism is only partially about our freedom. Our freedom must lead to commitment. The heart of Judaism is the marriage of God and Israel at Sinai, the revelation of the Torah. Shavuot starts the Jewish way of life. On Monday, the first day of Shavuot, as we do whenever Yom Tov, we take out two scrolls of the Torah. The Torah reading from the first scroll is from the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, chapters 19 and 20 in the Parsha of Yitro. You can find it beginning on page 436 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 290 of the Hertz. We read 5 aliyot. Each Yom Tov's reading, as one would expect, is tied to an aspect of the observance of that particular holiday. The reading for Shavuot is no exception. It describes the events surrounding the arrival of the Israelites at the wilderness of Sinai in the third month following their redemption from Egyptian slavery and their preparation for Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, or more specifically, the Aseret Dibrot, or Decalogue, the 10 Commandments. In chapter 19, God calls upon the people to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Moshe transmits the words of God unto the elders and unto the people of Israel, and they answer, Kol asher diber Hashem na'aseh. All that the Lord hath spoken, we will do. God instructs the people to prepare for 3 days to receive his words. They wash themselves and their clothes and are instructed not to approach the mountain. In chapter 20, God speaks from Sinai, beginning, I am the Lord your God who brought you forth from the land of Egypt, and continues through the Aseret Dibrot. The chapter concludes with a prohibition against making gods of silver or gold, and a command to make an altar of earth for sacrifices, or an altar of stones, but never of stones that were cut by a sword or other metal implement, and a command to guard modesty when ascending stairs to the altar. The Mafter reading for both days is the same, and we read it from the second scroll of the Torah. Like all other Yomim Tovim, all other holidays, this Mafter is from the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, chapter 28, verses 26 to 31, from the Parsha of Pinchas. You can find it on page 932 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 696 of the Hertz. It describes the meal offerings and the burnt offerings that were to be brought on Shavuot. The Haftorah for the first day of Shavuot is from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verses 1 to 28, and chapter 3, verse 12. It can be found on page 1321 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 1027 of the Hertz. It connects the appearance of God at Sinai in the Torah reading with another remarkable appearance of God, that which appeared to Ezekiel at the commencement of his prophetic ministry. Ezekiel, who was among the Judeans taken into Babylonian captivity in the year 597 BCE, was the first prophet to live and prophesy in exile. His orations were addressed both to the people in Judea and to his fellow captives in Babylonia. On Tuesday, the second day of Shavuot, we again take out 2 Torah scrolls from the Ark. The Torah reading from the first scroll is from the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, verse 19, to chapter 16, verse 17, found beginning on page 1080 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 814 of the Hertz. We again read 5 aliyot, as is the practice when Yom Tov falls on a weekday. This is the same reading as we would use for the last day of each of the Shalosh Regalim, the 8th day of Pesach, the 2nd day of Shivuot, and Shemini Atzeret, the 8th day attached to Sukkot. Coincidentally, these are also the days on which we recite Yizkor in our morning service. The reading starts with the required offerings of firstborn male of cattle and sheep, and then continues with a comprehensive description of the 3 pilgrimage festivals. Today's Mafter reading from the second scroll is the same as yesterday's from the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, chapter 28, verses 26 to 31, found on page 932 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 696 of the Hertz. It describes the meal offerings and the sacrifices that were to be brought on Shavuot. The Haftorah for the second day of Shavuot is from the prophetic book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 20 to chapter 3, verse 19. It can be found beginning on page 1326 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 1032 of the Hertz. Nothing is known of this prophet outside of this book which bears his name. This Haftorah is an ode in which the prophet, begging God to intervene on his people's behalf, visualizes his petition as granted in a graphic picture of the march of God and his retinue to overthrow the enemy and save his people. As in the case of the Haftorah for the first day, this is a description of the future manifestation of God. For this reason, and also because the language in places recalls the revelation at Sinai, it has been chosen as the prophetic reading for the holiday celebrating Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. Thank you all for watching. Good Yontov, Chag Sameach. Please be sure to subscribe, to like, and feel free to leave comments below.